welcome to another booktube video from me, Lauren, from Lauren and the Books. And again, I'll say the same thing that I said at the beginning of this video when I made it for the first quarter of the year. It's not a booktube video, guys. It's all about Telly. So earlier this year, I'll link it down below, I made a video where I talked about the what Telly I'd been watching in the first 3 months of the year. Quite enjoy these sort of like check-in videos, and also I just love me a recommendation. So like I'm just making the content that I would watch elsewhere. So if someone who I enjoyed watching made a video about what Telly they watched, I'd be like, yeah, I'll watch that. So I'm going to go over the things that I finished from the first 3 months of the year. If you watch the first one, I'm going to work in very much the same format as the first one, where I just talk through what I've watched so far, what I've thought about it, and etc. So I'll just recap on the things that I finished from the first 3 months of the year. First of all, I finished Selling Sunset season 3, but I'll talk about that a little bit more when we get to more Selling Sunset that I've watched. We finished watching Great British Menu, which was season 17. Very much enjoyed that as well. Really enjoyed the new judging panel. I haven't got much more to, I've literally just watched the video where I was talking about it, so I haven't got much more to add to that. And then we finished the last season of Peaky Blinders, which I found a little bit slow throughout. I thought Anya Taylor-Joy was literally like the best thing about it, but the last episode was very, very good. All right, the last episode was very, very good. So then, what else have we been watching? So in April, Selling Sunset season 4 we also watched, so I'll talk about season 3 and season 4. Very much enjoyed it. It's like complete sort of like trash reality TV set in Beverly Hills, a group of women selling houses, like the most amazing houses you've ever seen. In season 4 there's a character in this, there's a person called Christine Quinn. I can only assume she is an enhanced version of her actual person, because she is just sort of uncontrollable in season 3 and season 4. She's very sort of like bitchy character, very much owns up to that, but she's almost deluded with the sort of like how awful she is to her co-workers and seemingly her friends, who were supposed to be her friends, and how awfully she treats them. And then when they sort of want to confront her about it, she's like, oh no, I only want to talk to you one-on-one, I only want to talk to you one-on-one. And they're like, well, we don't want to talk to you one-on-one because then you lie to us all, and then when we ask you things they say no, you say, and she's just, yeah, it really shocked me how much of a sort of like liar she is to their faces, and how, well, either deluded or completely comfortable with her sort of like all of her lying and stuff. So that stressed me out a little bit, but I still very much enjoyed it. Watched the reunion show, didn't love that as much. Oh, Selling Sunset season 5 I also watched as well, but that I finished that in May. Yeah, I watched the reunion show as well. So yeah, it was, I very much enjoy it. It's a very good sort of reality TV if you're into like the early days of like The Only Way is Essex and Made in Chelsea. It reminds me of that before everyone got sort of a bit too big for the show, I think. But very much enjoyed it. I also watched The Spanish Princess season 1 and season 2 in April. As you will know, I am currently working through the 6 Tudor Queens series of books, and The Spanish Princess is all about Katherine of Aragon, from her coming over to the UK from Spain to marry Henry VIII's brother, Arthur, I think his name was, and it follows her early life right up until Henry VIII. Well, Anne Boleyn is in. She's in the, it's the early days of Anne Boleyn coming in. I really loved this series. I watched it on Amazon. It's on something called Stars Play, which we don't have, but I had bought the series. I think the first series I bought for like $4.99. Maybe the second series was for $6.99 because it's more recent, but I thought it was really good. Her accent was amazing, and I actually looked into this because I thought, God, her accent's really good. And the place where Katherine of Aragon is from is a very unusual accent, and apparently everyone was really impressed with the actor who plays Katherine of Aragon. The guy who plays Henry VIII is, he's also very good. It's got Matthew Aylward from Call the Midwife in it. I really thought it was very well pulled together. I thought the outfits were amazing. It was staged brilliantly. Really got the, like, it was a real joy to watch it and read the book at the same time. But I finished the book before I finished the second series, and I went back and watched the second series. Really enjoyed it. If you're into your sort of like historical fiction series and stuff, I really think you get a lot out of it. Very much enjoyed it. Then we also watched Freeze the Fear, which we finished watching in May. That is a show about Wim Hof gets a group of celebrities. I actually mentioned it in my my favourites recently. So Wim Hof, how would you describe Wim Hof, David? I think he's like a sort of like motivational speaker.
Yeah,
he uses like ice therapy in order to rid people of their anxieties and depression and things like that. He's got a background of depression and anxiety from a horrific situation, a horrific thing that happened to him with regards to his wife committing suicide. Yeah, so, and we've got these 6 celebrities, I think it was 6 celebrities, who want to sort of like come to terms with stuff that's happened in their trauma from their past and things like that, and want to use this ice therapy. And I thought it was a really well picked group of celebrities. Like, everybody had something from their past that was clearly still troubling them and was still affecting their day-to-day lives. But the show itself was very, very joyful, even though it covered these sort of traumatic events, from things like, for trigger warnings, for example, for death of a parent, death of a sibling, eating disorders, anxiety and depression, self-harm, things like that. But all of these, so for a show that sort of covers that and was celebrities reliving moments from their lives, it really was joyful, and they were all so supportive of each other. Well, I think it was a bit like I'm a Celebrity, which I also really enjoy, but it was more like there was no competition. They were just trying to improve themselves, and it was really, really lovely. And one of the things that they did was to have cold showers, and David and I have actually been doing that a little bit, not so much recently, although we really need to, it's getting really hot. And that how when you're cold, or when you're freezing, or when you've got a shock to the system, all of your body sort of diverts its energy to that. So any sort of like anxious feelings you've got or anything like that are taken away because you're battling this immediate cold and things like that. There was a lot on there like, I just really liked it. There's a lot in there about breathing techniques and stuff. I thought it was very, very well pulled together programme. I do not like Lee Mack though, and Lee Mack hosts it, and he's just like the kind of guy who just literally has to get a joke in every single second, and I think he didn't need it. It was funny and joyful enough as it was, without having some bloke doing a joke every 2 seconds. But yeah, very much enjoyed that. Then we watched in April and then finished in May Derry Girls season 3. That is the final series of Derry Girls, which had a normal series and then a little bonus extra episode which was set a year later. I very much enjoyed it. I love Derry Girls season 1 and 2. The early days of season 3, I think maybe where I found a bit drier than the first 2 series. Like, I've definitely laughed my whole way through episodes, and I wasn't finding that as much. There was an episode where Erin and James kiss, which I loved that, and I thought that we might get a little bit more of that towards the end, but that wasn't really referenced to again, which I was a bit disappointed at. I'm only being honest, because I love the series, but like, I could have done with a little bit more resolution with that. What I did love is that how educational I found that last episode about the oh god, is it called the the Good Friday Agreement? I was going to say the Easter Monday Agreement, but I mean the Good Friday Agreement. Like, I found out stuff in that episode that I never had any idea about. It was a really nice shutting off, and I really do sort of agree with the way that it seems to be done in the UK, I think, and I can liken this to like The Office as well, is when series stop after a limited number of series before it's all really dragged out and everything. And like, the people that are in this series who are in Derry Girls, they're like in their 30s now, playing like 16-year-olds, and I think that they've all got such a massive sort of career ahead of them. It's really nice to sort of like close off Derry Girls for them and then just let them go. I've already watched Dylan Llewellyn in something else, and I will get onto that because we loved that. Well, I'll talk to that when we get to May's TV. But yeah, I really, really loved it. I cried loads. And yeah, it's definitely something I'll go back and revisit all the time. Very much enjoyed season 3 of Derry Girls. Then we watched and then completed only literally last night season 13 of Taskmaster. So this has been going on 1 episode a week, which is why we started it in April. We've only just finished it now. Taskmaster is a programme that David and I really, really enjoy watching. It's a set of 5 comedians or TV personalities pitted against each other to do sort of like silly tasks. Really, really like mad stuff that you just have a lovely time doing. And every single season, I always really enjoy it. But this year, the season 13, the people that the comedians and the TV personalities they had on there, I absolutely loved all of them. And they all seem to really get on really well. So you had Ardor O'Hanlon, who is famous for, well, who you may well know as playing Father Dougal in Father Ted, Bridget Christie, who I hadn't heard of before, which was, and she was just such a lovely sort of like just happy-go-lucky, positive person. Chris Ramsey, who I knew as a comedian, he used to be on Celebrity Juice all the time, and he was more recently on Strictly. Judy Love, who was on Strictly last year? Yeah, last year. She's a TV personality, massive personality, hilarious and just like so lazy at doing the tasks. She was exactly what I would have been like doing the task. And then Sophie Duker, who I'd not heard of at all, and loved her so much. And David and I are actually thinking of maybe going to see her in do a comedy next year. We loved her. So yeah, it was a really great series, and it was nice to see like them all being able to sit back close together and being able to do team tasks and stuff like that, because the COVID restriction, or I guess because they can test more regularly for COVID and stuff now, so they've been able to sort of make more of what was the normal programme, which we used to watch before. But yeah, I loved it. I really loved it. If you haven't watched Taskmaster yet, it's such a great show to sort of like just watch with your dinner or something like that. It's really enjoyable watching, and yeah, very much enjoyed it. Then I watched 3 episodes of Travelman. The series itself was only 4 episodes, and I still haven't finished the last one, which had Katherine, I can never remember her name, but the woman who was in the IT crowd. Do you know her last name, David? That woman that was in the IT crowd? Is it Katherine? She was on Taskmaster, the series before last. Is her name Katherine? I don't know. Anyway, but Joe Lycett has taken over from Richard Ayoade. We loved the James Acaster episode. It was really good, and we loved the Aisling Bea episode, where we didn't think that Joe and Mo Gilligan was also on an episode. We didn't think that they had the best time. I think they were in Cyprus, maybe. We didn't feel like they had the best time wherever they went. But yeah, we really loved the James Acaster episode, but we haven't watched any more of it. But I will imagine get round to that final episode just so I can watch the whole thing, because I really love Joe Lycett. He is hilarious on Instagram. His garden updates, love it. Then I started watching, well, I accidentally started watching a programme called 6 Wives of Henry VIII on All 4, thinking that it was the Lucy Worsley series of the 6 Wives of Henry VIII. So I watched 1 episode of 6 Wives of Henry VIII, which was all about Catherine of Aragon. It was very dry. It really reminded me of like, if you were in the UK when you were like, when I was in like middle school, sometimes your history lesson, they'd like wheel in a, it seems mad that they would even do this now. I bet they don't do this at schools now. They would wheel in a TV set and be like, right, today we're gonna watch this documentary on that. And the teacher would just be like, not doing anything, and you just have to watch that. And it reminded me of a documentary I'd watched when I was younger. So that was the Channel 4 one. I probably won't be watching any more of that, but I did also buy from Amazon, because I couldn't find it anywhere else, the 6 Wives of Henry VIII documentary from Lucy Worsley. Now this is 3 episodes, and each episode covers 2 queens and sort of like their overlapping lives. So I have so far only watched the first episode, because that's Catherine of Aragon and Anne Boleyn, and they're the 2 books that I've read. So I will continue to watch this, because we're now, the Anne Boleyn and the Jane Seymour storyline cross over, and I know that from reading the Anne Boleyn book. So yeah, I will watch more of that. Then David and I, in a similar way to how much we enjoyed Taskmaster, like over the years, we got bang into Richard Osman's House of Games. This is season 5 of Richard Osman's House of Games, and I haven't marked that we completed it because we only watched the last 15 episodes. So it's a show, it's a little bit like Taskmaster, isn't it, David?
Yeah, but more
they get
quizzing.
4, yeah, they get 4 like TV personalities, comedians, to come in and like do a quiz for a week, and there's a different prize every day, and then there's someone at the end who wins the trophy. And yeah, it was really good. We had a really fun time watching it. It was perfect, again, perfect sort of like sitting down watching something while you're eating dinner, or when you get in from work telly. I saw there was a tweet saying that they had started filming season 6. I think these shows go on. I think that he has them on for about 10 weeks, David. I think the seasons last a really long time. We were just sort of unlucky to catch the last 3 weeks when we really got into it. But
and they're probably quite easy and quick to film.
Yeah, I would say, yeah. I saw they film them up in Glasgow, so I bet they have a lovely time. I bet they just have 2 days filming and just get them all churned out. But yeah, very much enjoyed it. Again, if you're a fan of Taskmaster, I think you'll be a fan of that too. Then I watched the first episode and haven't watched any more of Chivalry, which is the Sarah Solmani and Steve Coogan thing about sexism and stuff, sexism and misogyny in the film industry. We enjoyed the first episode. I don't know why we didn't go back and watch any more. Do you know, David?
I don't know.
Yeah, and I don't know if I will go back. I thought it was okay. I didn't love it, and let me tell you, I do love Steve Coogan, so that is a surprise that I didn't go back to watch more of that. Bridgerton season 2, I only watched 1 episode of. I enjoyed it. David said he wasn't that mad about watching it, so that's another thing. Because we've got 1 telly in our house, and I'm sort of like not the telly conductor, would you say, David? I sort of fit my telly watching in around David not watching telly or not. So the only time I watch telly is when David's not here, basically. And I think I watched this the first episode of Bridgerton when David was away working, and I sort of thought, because David was away working a lot in May, and I thought, oh well, I'll watch or in April and May, and I thought, oh well, I'll watch a lot of Bridgerton. I've been meaning to watch that, and I watched one episode and just, yeah, I don't know if I loved it, but I loved the first series so much. It's a different vibe, isn't it? I remember watching it over Christmas, that COVID Christmas. I remember watching it and really being invested in it. Maybe I'll go back and watch season 2. I've read the book, so I know everything that happens. We'll see. And then the last thing I watched in April before we get into May is the 10%, which is the UK version of Call My Agent, which is a show about a sort of talent agency and representatives of people who are in films and on telly and stuff like that, actors. And yeah, we watched the first few episodes of the French one a few years ago, and then heard that they were making a UK version. We absolutely zipped through it, didn't we, David? We really enjoyed it. It's got some great talent in there, and really enjoy the sort of like cameos from people like Helena Bonham Carter. What's the name of the woman who plays Merida, who was in Line of Duty? David?
Yeah?
What's the name of the woman who plays Merida in...
I'm not sure, bub.
A Scottish actress, but very good sort of like cameos, as well as a great cast playing the representative, the talent scouts and stuff. Yeah, really enjoyed it, and like very easy and enjoyable watching, sort of like low to no peril. So if you're looking for something like a bit light-hearted, with still some sort of like different topics and stuff covered, I very much enjoyed that. So then we get into May, and probably my favourite... It's gonna be May. The first... I thought that was over and done with, Dave, because it's not May anymore, but still, we're saying it's gonna be May. And I think my favourite telly thing that I've watched this year, I watched in May, and that was Heartstopper. And my heart did stop. So this is the Netflix adaptation of the Heartstopper graphic novels. It's just been renewed for series 2 and 3. I think there's in total going to be 5 graphic novels. There's still, the last one is to come out now shortly, maybe this year. I mean, they'd be mad not to release it this year after the hype around it. But it's about 2 lads at school falling in love with each other, and one already being out and gay, and the sort of background to that having been outed by people in his school, and then the guy Charlie, I always get confused between their names, Nick and Charlie. Nick, sorry, him sort of like realising that he's bisexual when he'd always thought he liked girls, and then coming to realise that he likes Charlie, and their relationship getting together. So the first series basically covers the first graphic novel, but with a few sort of like key things left out that I picked up on a little bit. They're not overtly gone into, and I don't want to say anything in case you haven't watched, in case you haven't read the books, and like there's more to come to it. But like there's more to, let's say there's more to Charlie than we're realising at the moment. And yeah, so there's going to be further going into that. But I think like the young cast that were playing all of these characters just seemed like they were actually having a ball, and they were so believable. Their relationships were so amazing. The guy who plays Nick Nelson, Kit O'Connor, I think his name is, he plays Elton John in the young Elton John in Rocket Man, and he was just so likeable. I mean, Nick Nelson is a really likeable character anyway, but imagine like being that likeable, like, and making him even more likeable. It was just fantastic. And like great soundtrack, the whole thing looked great. There was like they'd focused a lot on like the colours blue and yellow, so there was loads of blue and yellow in it all the time. And then Alice Osman, who wrote the graphic novel, she's done lots of like little animations and graphics like love hearts and autumn leaves and snow and snowflakes and stuff while things are going on. Just a beautiful series, just so joyful and so fun. And yeah, I would, if you're gonna watch anything from this video, watch Heartstopper, because absolutely loved it. My favourite thing, yeah, my favourite thing I've watched this year. And I've just realised I didn't mention it in my favourites, which seems mad because I loved it. And I've watched loads of like little sort of like behind the scenes things. That's when I know that I really like something, because I quite often watch like Call the Midwife montages and stuff on YouTube, and I caught myself doing that with Heartstopper, so absolutely loved it. Then I watched 3 episodes of The Tudors. So for the same reason I was watching The Spanish Princess and the 6 Wives of Henry VIII documentaries, I started watching The Tudors. I've got friends who absolutely love The Tudors and have told me before I even started doing this series of reading through the six Tudor Wives series to watch it. I just didn't get on with it. I watched 3 episodes and thought, I don't know how much I'm enjoying this. And yeah, the first episode I thought, I'm not really getting on with it, and then continued to for 2 and 3 episodes. I don't think I'm going to bother watching anymore, because I know a lot of it is about Anne Boleyn, so I'd planned to watch like the main chunk of it whilst I was reading the Anne Boleyn book, and I just couldn't get on with it. I don't know what it was, because I know it's super popular as well, so yeah, didn't really love it. We also watched a week of a programme called The Games, which was on ITV, which had TV personalities and celebrities competing in like Olympic sports. We really enjoyed watching that for the week. It was on every single night. I quite like a surge of telly like that, where they just have like, and you can get really involved in it for like the week, and they were doing all sorts of things from rock climbing to cycling, swimming, racing, and all of these celebrities. Chelsea Grimes was on this, who was also on the Freeze the Fear programme, the Wim Hof programme. I really hope she's on. I really hope she's on Strictly this year. I've just got a feeling she's an ex-footballer and she's a musician now, and yeah, she's been very much in my. She seems to be on everything at the moment, so I hope that she'll be making an appearance on Strictly this year. I also watched episode 1 of Glow Up. I haven't watched any more of that. I went round to my friend Emma's house. That's season 4 of Glow Up, which is the makeup competition where they get MUAs from all over the UK to compete in different like makeup challenges and stuff. Watched the first episode, haven't watched any more. I must ask Emma actually if she's watched any more of that. Then something to mention that I briefly spoke about earlier. So I mentioned Derry Girls and how like the cast of Derry Girls have got some real good things ahead of them, I would say. And one of the things we watched was Big Boys, which is stars Dylan Llewellyn, who plays James, the wee English fella from Derry Girls. And in this is a Channel 4 programme written and produced by Jack Rook, whose dad died a year before he went to university, and it's about him going to university, which is literally like 20 miles down the road from where he lives. Maybe not even that. I think his mum was like 20 minutes down the road from where he is, and going to university and not realising that he's gay, but making friends and having a really like I don't rarely, if ever, have I seen the sort of straight best friend played so well as the guy who played Jack's best friend in this. And he's got issues with depression, and he's a carer for his grandmother. There's just so much covered in here. There was so much feeling and so much heart, and acted brilliantly, hilarious as well, really, really good, and really sort of like reminded me of what my uni experience could have been like if I wasn't such a, like, just wanted to stay in every weekend, watch Strictly and dye my hair. So yeah, really, really good acting and issues covered and fun, and yeah, really good comic performances as well as really like heartbreaking performances as well. Then I watched Anatomy of a Scandal, which is on Netflix. David was away and I watched the whole series, 6 episodes in one day. I think they were like 40 minutes each as well, so I really cracked on with it. It's got Sienna Miller in it, Michelle Dockery, and Sienna Miller, so Michelle Dockery works as a barrister, and Sienna Miller's husband is a Tory MP and has been having an affair with one of his junior aides, and this has been a very it's been going on for a while, and then they break up, and then the last time that they have sex, the aide says that it wasn't consensual, she didn't say yes to it, and he raped her. So it's all to do with that, and Sienna Miller sort of like, is she going to back her husband? They're very much in the public eye. She has to take her children to school every day, and then Michelle Dockery representing this woman who really doesn't appear in the programme. So the woman who is raped really doesn't appear in the programme very much. You sort of just see her in sort of flashbacks and when they're in the courtroom and stuff like that, and then it takes a bit of a turn at the end, which I was really, really surprised at, but very, very compelling and enjoyable, like despite the horrific content. But yeah, I thought it was really good. I thought it was really, really good performances, and the flashback performances were performed really well as well. I thought like they really cast the people who played them as their younger selves really well. I thought it was very well done. So yeah, there we go. So that was May, and then June. Now we're only halfway through June so far, but we've watched a few little bits, mainly all of the same thing. So there's a new cookery competition on at the moment called Hungry For It on BBC 3. Hosted by Stacey Dooley, and stars Big Zoo, who is a grime artist and a chef, and another chef called Chef KK. I don't actually know where so she's American, her name's Kayla. I haven't seen her in anything else ever, and they've got 10 young people who are all competing for like this massive, I think it's like a sort of like food tour, world tour prize, so they get to travel the world and see different restaurants and things like that. And yeah, so it's been really fun. We've watched 2 episodes so far, and the first episode was all about party food and sort of like amping up the party food. So everyone cooks something, party food, and then amps it up, and then the 5 best people get to work in the restaurant for the night, and the 5 worst people get to work in the pop-up for the night, and then one person leaves from the pop-up that evening. So we've watched the first episode, which was all about party food, the second episode, which was all about chicken, and the prize that they got, so the people who work in the restaurant, they also get a prize, and the prize that the person in the restaurant got was that their seasoning would be on Nando's menu, which I think is a pretty good prize. And all of these people like lost their mind because they're all young people just eating loads of fucking Nando's. But yeah, really enjoyed it. Big Zoo, we've been getting very much into him, so that something else we've been watching is Big Zoo's Big Eats, which is the BAFTA award-winning show, guys, that he's just won a second BAFTA for. Big Zoo, we actually, off the back of it, I've ended up buying this cookbook for David for Father's Day because we've just fallen in love with Zoo. In Big Zoo's Big Eats, he travels the country going to different comedians' tour dates and then cooking them a 3-course meal for when they finish their tour, for when they finish their show for the night, based on what he's told them. So we've watched 3 episodes so far. It had Jimmy Carr in it, Guz Khan and Rosie Jones. We started watching the James Acaster one, which was like in season 2, but we stopped it and we started watching it from the beginning. And yeah, he's just a really good chef, and like it's really, really fun. Travels the country in like a food van with his 2 mates from school called Tubbsy and what's the other ones? Hyder and Tubbsy, who are literally just like 2 normal blokes walking around in like puffer jackets. But yeah, he's really funny, and he's very like, he's very endeared to the people he goes to see, and like he's obviously a comedy fan as well, and he gets very sort of like, you just get a lot from the programme. I very much enjoyed it, and we will carry on watching it and making stuff out of here. The most recent one, so David said he wanted this cookbook, and I'd already bought it for him for Father's Day from Minnie, and I thought, oh god, I hope he doesn't end up looking for it. But one of the reasons I went and bought it as well, because let me see if I can find him. I can't bloody find him. So one of the things he made when Rosie Jones was on there, she was saying that she loves cheese and she loves pickled stuff. So he made cheese and gherkin fritters, and I thought I've got to buy this book if that's in there, and it was in there, so David's gonna make that for me. But all sorts of like really good vegetarian stuff as well, like sweet and sour carrots. Big Zoo is Muslim, so there's no pork in this at all. My sister doesn't eat pork, so she was having a lovely time looking through this as well. Big Bang broccoli, that looks good. Loads of little snacky bits and stuff. There's also like, if you're into meat like David is, there's some, I imagine what you'd be very, very excited about, meat stuff in there. So yeah, there we go. Very good. And then the last thing I watched 2 episodes of it. It's called Backstage with Katherine Ryan. It's on Amazon Prime. And Katherine Ryan is a Canadian comedian who's based over in the UK, and she puts on a comedy show at the Roundhouse with 4 different comedians, and you see them being filmed behind the scenes on the run up to the shows happening, like on the day, and then you watch their sets, and then you watch them sort of interact with each other while the sets are going on, and then you see them sort of like debrief afterwards. Very interesting. I have a really unusual, well not unusual, but I have a really strange relationship with stand-up comedy. When I was at university, all I wanted to do was watch stand-up comedy. I loved Russell Brand and Russell Howard, anyone called Russell, and would go and watch stand-up comedy shows whenever I got the chance, really. And more recently, I found that sort of thing less funny, like people sort of, someone sort of telling jokes at you and trying to get a sort of like funny relationship. And I think because really what's happened is that I really enjoy podcasts and people talking to each other. So the Off Menu podcast, for example, is 2 comedians talking to each other, and then having guests on, and I feel like I enjoy that more, sort of listening in on someone's chat than being told jokes to. But I really like Katherine Ryan, and I watched this show and really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed sort of like seeing how the headspace that the comedian's in before they go. Like the first one I watched has Sean Walsh on it, and he was like, I thought he was going to actually puke. He looks so nervous before he goes on, and then every single comedian I've seen go on, so I've seen 8 comedians now because I've watched 2 shows, like all of them are so nervous before they go on, and I was like, God, imagine having a job where you feel that awful, and then the highs I imagine afterwards are amazing. But yeah, it's very interesting to see the sort of like behind the scenes comedy stuff rather than just someone coming out and like showboating for an hour. I enjoyed that very much, and also the sets are much shorter. So yeah, there we go. That's what I've watched in April, May and June. Let me know what you've been watching these few months, or let me know if you've watched any of the things that I've mentioned. Would love to hear from you. And yeah, I'll see you all again soon for another BookTube video.